This episode of Bulletproof Cash Flow is brought to you by Realty Dynamics. Learn how people like you can build substantial passive income while creating wealth for the long term through real estate investing. Visit rdyne.com. That's RDYNE.com.
You and I talked about the 2008 crash. You and I both know there are certain states and cities within this country that said 2008 crash, what? Who? That type of economic downturn doesn't affect every city uniformly. So making sure that we understand where some cities may be that can weather that type of maybe national downturn, but not feel the effects as much locally is of paramount importance to us right now.
Working because you want to, not because you have to, is financial freedom. And we want to help you create that. Welcome to the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show. We're going to teach you how to achieve lifetime financial freedom through real estate investment. Your host is a multifamily syndicator and property developer. He's done deals reaching into the hundreds of millions of dollars. You'll hear from experts in all aspects of real estate investment, finance, development, and management. Everything you need is right here. This is the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show. And this is your host, Augustino Pintus.
Hey everyone, it's Augustino. The great thing about cash flowing investment grade real estate is that you can experience life on your own terms. Now, imagine having the freedom to control your own time and financial destiny. Imagine having that passive income to cover your expenses and provide for your family. Well, it's all possible if you execute your real estate strategy properly. Now, our next guest knows all about this. Prior to working in multifamily real estate, she spent 13 years in the pharmaceutical and biotech industry. Now, while traveling on business, she picked up that famous purple book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and that changed her life. Now, from there, she realized that she can use her skill set to serve more people through multifamily real estate by providing clean, safe, affordable housing to working class families while providing an investment vehicle for her friends and family to participate in. So she got to work pivoting her skill set. Now today, she has her own company, Silvis Capital, and they currently have over 434 units, totaling about $39 million in assets under management. Now with all that, I'd like to welcome Amy Sylvis to the show. Amy, thanks for coming on.
Oh, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it.
You bet. No, I'm looking forward to this. Now, guys, if you like what Amy has to say, you can reach her via the contact page at silviscapital.com. Okay, Amy, go ahead and tell the listeners a little bit about your journey.
Will do. So I am out here in Los Angeles, California with my husband. A lot of people think we're crazy to be out here, but we've got lots of family and that's where we live. But this location does play into kind of my origin story and how I got into the industry. So I was born with an illness called cystic fibrosis. So this is not a sad story. This is an exciting story that I'm really, it's an encouragement to everyone. So I knew from a very young age that likely my lungs were going to fail me at some point. And for those who don't know about the illness, that's just kind of the progressive nature. So I knew from a young age, my ability to trade my time for money might not always be there. So I was on this really eager, almost frantic journey to get a bigger and better W-2 job in hopes I could save enough money and parlay that into some cushion for if and when I wasn't going to be able to work due to health problems. I didn't want to be a liability, on my parents. They had already sacrificed enough. So I had a great job in biotech that I loved, had a lot of meaning. I got my MBA, again, on that kind of hamster wheel thinking, all right, maybe I can earn more money, save more, and cushion myself for if and when that inevitable time came when I wasn't able to work. Well, yes, as you mentioned, I finally discovered this concept of passive income so I could continue to support myself and my family, but not have, even if I was in and out of the hospital or struggling health-wise, money would still come in. So I realize that isn't necessarily everyone's story, but I think we all have a reason and an incentive to figure out how to get in this passive income game and buy ourselves time and geographic freedom. So one last point. 2 years ago, I was put on a miracle medication for cystic fibrosis. My health is incredible. So all's well that ends well, but I'm still in this industry because of how I'm able to serve the residents and, of course, give myself all of those freedoms that we're all looking for.
It's interesting when you have that why could be a very powerful motivator to move you forward. I mean, it's kind of like We're talking to the green room a little bit about it. I'm a little older than you are, and I think I realized probably when I was about your age, probably a little older than that, it's like the window is shrinking, and you really have to build that passive income. There's just three types of income. There's earned income, which is the highest tax, portfolio income, which is stuff that you buy and sell, whatever small little things you might sell online or whatever, but cash flowing passive income is the best income. That's very little tax, and it just shows up in your bank account. How great is that? I mean, why wouldn't other people do that? And I think to your point, people just aren't aware. They just don't know. Many people don't know. I didn't know, and I found the Purple Book later in life too, just like you did, so it's a fascinating book, fascinating, eye-opening type of scenario to really employ. So now, okay, tell us a little bit more then about how you're able to step into financial freedom then. So what was that journey like when you're working and now you decided, I need to commit myself to doing this real estate thing? How did that take place?
Well, I had a 10-year adventure trying to crack into this industry. Again, not a downer story, just a story of persistence and empowerment. I was trying to balance having this lung illness, my W-2 in biotech that I loved, and investing on the side, and just kind of kept hitting these brick walls with my health, not giving me the opportunity to be able to balance all three of those. So in 2017, I had to stop working. It was actually what I had always feared in terms of this inability to trade my time for money, because I was just in and out of the hospital too much. So as you can imagine, I was devastated. I loved working. I loved the meaning I had behind it, and I loved the independence it afforded me. But as with all setbacks, there can be an amazing comeback, an amazing reason for why things happen. And the meaning there was because I no longer had that W-2, something that was somewhat of a golden handcuff situation where I was comfortable and earning good money. It forced me out of the W-2, out of the golden handcuffs, into a period, a season where I was studying real estate full time and had plenty of time to be able to really accelerate my learning, accelerate partnerships, networking, and dive into the industry. So a little bit of an unconventional story, but if you're anything like me, sometimes you need a little kick in the pants to make the leap when things are scary.
Yeah. No, I think it's usually what it is, right? I mean, I remember when I was an executive, I was earning great money, and it's kind of hard to turn down this giant 6-figure salary, and now I got to stop doing this to go take a chance, air quote, take a chance on something else that may not work. It requires a huge commitment of time and effort. Oh, I don't know that I want to do that because it's comfortable. Like to your point, it's comfortable. They have the golden handcuffs on you. And the thing about working at a company, they pay you just enough to keep you from quitting.
So true.
And people don't understand that part, right? They don't get it. That's exactly what it is. And I was the same boat as you, got fired. And then finally, what am I going to do now with my life? Real estate, and that's, I think when you realize that you have nothing else to lose, and you're still alive after you get fired from a job, you can really commit. That's really what it took. It sounds like that's great. So what did that commitment look like in terms of did you study? Did you train? Did you find did you find a mentor? Did you find some other like-minded individuals? How did that work?
All of the above. I went full in. Granted, my health wasn't exactly where I needed it to be. That didn't come for a few years later, but with the time and ability I did have, yes, I hired a coach. I went into a mentorship program. I didn't have a ton of cash on hand to be able to burn because I was also supporting myself with my savings. But, I just figured, if not now, when? When am I going to have this opportunity? I was 36 years old and thought, all right, this is it. This is the time I'd been waiting for. So surrounding myself with like-minded people, to your point, networking, mentorship, coaching. I lived and breathed the industry and took all the advice I possibly could from smart people that told me, yeah, you need to have a mentor. You can maybe do this on your own, but you can go further faster with a mentor and a coach.
Did you ever have any doubts that, what if I screw this up? What if it doesn't work? What if? Did you ever have that, and how did you overcome it?
Without a doubt. I think, I'm not going to venture to say anyone's lying who says that they don't, but, I think it's part of being an entrepreneur, right? And, we all think about how to achieve these goals or start a business like you and I did. And to really have what we want, we have to become the type of person that earns that, right? And part of becoming that type of person was wrestling with those doubts of those worst case scenarios. You and I take other people's money. We have the privilege of investing it for them, growing it for them, and providing those types of opportunities. And that's an incredible honor. And if you don't kind of wonder, oh my gosh, I'm deciding to do this, what if something happens that goes wrong? Maybe that's not the right business. I think you should definitely be wondering. So essentially, having a coach, thinking through the mindset of, what can go right. Oh yeah, my brain is telling me to focus on what could go wrong. But my goodness, what could go right? What if I decide to step in and serve people in a way that, they don't have exposure to enter the industry in any other way than if they happen to meet me or something like that? So really focusing on what could go right and the abundance that could be on the other side of fear was what really helped me overcome those what ifs.
Hey, Augustino here, and I would love to connect directly with you. Text the word books to 844-428-1344 to receive weekly book recommendations from me. Now, why do you think people have a hard time doing that? Because I know that in my case, I didn't have a choice, because it's either I did it or that's it, I'm homeless. So I better step up, right? But in your case, how'd you overcome that? Because for many folks out there, they're afraid to let go of the golden handcuffs unless they're kicked out. They are, and they have this overwhelming sense of doubt that, it's obviously not good for positive reinforcement. And a lot of people even think about dropping out. How'd you get through that?
Just this dogged persistence. I think all of us have something in us that wonders, what are we truly capable of? What is our purpose? What is our meaning? But also, if I went fully into something, what could I really do? So I think one of those self kind of exploratory moments, but also this idea that I'm here to serve people. I really have that orientation, and I'm not going to serve people and fulfill my purpose here on this earth by playing small and feeding into my doubts. I'm really going to, arrive at the person I was created to be and what I'm meant to do here by stepping into that fear and feeling fear and doing it anyway is one of my favorite phrases. So there really is no magic. It's just one of those things of thinking, fear doesn't mean, oh, that means I shouldn't do something. It simply means I'm taking various factors and risks into account. And once I do that, I can take calculated risks. I can mitigate risks. And what's on the other side of that truly is amazing. And I just had that vision.
Yeah, I think part of it is if you don't experience the fear, you might be doing something wrong, actually. You should be a little afraid. You should be. Maybe it's an indicator that, you're doing something big here. This is a big deal. So yeah, maybe it's not a bad thing to be afraid. It really isn't. Because the freedom is on the other side of that fear. The freedom that we all want is on the other side of that.
And yes, very often everything we want is on the other side of fear. That's one of the biggest realizations I had. I'm like, oh, this is just part of the path. This isn't the stop sign. This is just a marker in the road of the amazing path that I'm on.
Yeah. Now, there's something that you espouse that I've heard about in other shows, but you mentioned the 5 freedoms that shape your life. What are those 5 freedoms?
Yes. So freedom of time, freedom of geography, financial freedom, freedom of association. So being around people that you choose to be around instead of having to be around, and then freedom of purpose. So that's giving back or really your meaning here on this planet. So yes, those are those 5 freedoms.
Yeah. And I mean, and to your point, yes, I've been able to manifest all those things in my life. I would never trade my worst day in real estate for the best day in corporate. I mean, it sounds bad. Someone out there is in corporate, but that's just me, and that's just my take on the whole thing, right?
Couldn't agree more. I think we're all different, and thank goodness we are. But for many of us, I think deep down in our soul, before it's kind of beaten out of us, we do have those aspirations to be free and to think for ourselves and fulfill our higher purpose. That sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes our corporate jobs don't really allow us to do.
That's right. Now, I'm assuming you have a team that you work with, right?
Yes, several teams. Love that aspect of this business.
So tell us a little bit about your team.
Yeah. So I am a self-admitted only child, type A personality, a real go-getter. So when I first entered into this industry, I thought, great, I've done tough things. I'm capable of doing this. I'm going to start my own company and off I go. And it soon became very clear to me that, again, using the phrase further faster that I used with coaching and mentorship, it's the same with teams. This industry is complex. It takes a lot of hard work, at least to be an active operator, not necessarily the passive investor per se, but having people with different skills that intentionally think differently than you, maybe you're located geographically in a different part of the United States or even the world, can be a tremendous benefit to our business. So thankfully, I came to that realization very quickly. And again, intentionally found people with different skills and experience. And we formed this complementary relationship to really get the business soaring.
So it sounds like you have a like-minded team, but different strengths and weaknesses within the team then, right?
Perfectly said. Yes, those values, that is what does not vary. Those are the things that we have in common, those common values and ways of seeing the world and operating throughout the world that link us together. Those are irreplaceable. Yes.
That's right. So on this team then, what is your role specifically, and how do you contribute to the success of the team?
So in Los Angeles, you can probably imagine there's a lot of capital looking to be invested, but doesn't want to be invested in California, which I understand. I don't own here either. And it can be challenging for some people to spend the time to find deals, to evaluate them, and to operate them. So again, with a mindset of serving other folks, I'm able to connect people with amazing investment opportunities, multifamily investment opportunities in emerging markets. So I serve on the capital side and just absolutely love the ways that I'm able to help people build generational wealth, earn financial freedom, and all of those great passive income opportunities that we love to talk about.
It's funny. I've done plenty of coaching for people out of the state here of Ohio, where we're based right now, and a lot of the students I would coach are from either California, New York, New Jersey, and that exact superpower of what you just described that's something you can manifest, especially in places like California. There's so much capital that's locked up there and it wants to make the escape. If that person like you is able to connect the money to the deals, it's like it's tremendous. It really is tremendous. It's and that's a great piece of advice for many people out there, that if they really want to get in this business, this is key. If you're going to be in a team, you have to be able to contribute to that team. If you can't contribute to the team, chances of you sticking around in that team are very, very slim. Because nobody wants to deal with you if you're not contributing anything to the team.
100%. Yes. Yeah. If you want something, it's time to start giving and providing value. So that is the perfect mindset. I love that advice.
Yep. Now, when you're lining up the capital, are you doing the research on the asset and the research on the market, and you're understanding what it is? I'm assuming you're understanding what it is you're selling to these investors.
Oh, absolutely. Right? I started off as the market research and deal finding person, so I've been on that side. Yeah, I love it. I love the hunt. I'm pretty analytical. So, some of those business and MBA skills of being analytical around numbers to understand not only, what is an emerging market, where's a good place to research or to invest, but also, how to underwrite deals and understanding the little tricks of the trade there. Yes, without a doubt, I spend an inordinate amount of time in that space, because at the end of the day, our reputation and our ability to serve others is why we're able to be in this business. So connecting people with deals that make sense and that are sound, with operators that hold our values, is top of the list in terms of what I do and what I prioritize.
I want to take a pause from today's show to share something that I've been encountering. As I speak to many investors, there's this concern, and the concern is centered around the inflation we've been experiencing and the devaluation of our currency. Now, we've seen some of the highest inflationary periods over the past 30 years. That's up over 8%. Economists actually believe that inflation is closer to 20%. Some say it's even more. Now, what does this mean for you? Well, it means that money that is sitting in your bank account or self-directed IRA that's not invested in physical assets that hedge against inflation are losing buying power. That means that every minute, every second, that dollar is becoming less valuable. You see this every day. You see this in the groceries you buy, the gasoline you buy, everyday items that you're buying on a daily basis are becoming more and more expensive, and you're using a less powerful dollar to buy these items, meaning that dollar is losing value if it isn't put into a property that produces cash flow, just like real estate does. Now, our team here at Bulletproof Cashflow has put together a series of weekly webinars that cover real estate investing like multifamily, net lease, and real estate development. Now, these are purely educational webinars. In these webinars, we talk about why real estate offers a powerful opportunity right now and why it makes sense to invest in these assets today. So, if you're interested in real estate or want to have the opportunity to get involved as a hedge against inflation yourself, I encourage you to go to bulletproofcashflow.com/webinars. That's bulletproofcashflow.com/webinars. Now you go there, these webinars are 45 minutes and they cover different topics every week. We go over the things you need to know to avoid some of the common pitfalls when it comes to investing while getting you prepared to invest your paper dollars into a real physical asset. Now, if you can't make the webinars, just go ahead and register and we will send you a recording that you can watch at any time. And by the way, these webinars are entirely free. There's no cost to you. This is just something that we do to educate our folks out there. So if you're enjoying this episode, please like and subscribe to Bulletproof Cashflow. It helps the channel tremendously when you do. Now let's go ahead and get back to the show. Nice. So now what sort of deals are you looking for these days? Because we're talking about this in the green room a little bit, like about our shift, for instance, from stabilized value add to more development stuff. That's what we're doing. I mean, we haven't given up on the stabilized value add stuff. We have like a few deals in the pipeline right now, but we have way more in development, right? But we know the market very, very well. But in your case, how are you assessing the market? What sort of research are you doing, and what are some of the tips that you're learning, or rather tips that you can tell the audience here of what they should be doing?
Sure. Yeah. To your point, we're doing stabilized value add, as you mentioned. We have not changed our deal evaluation criteria over the past few years. We do see some people kind of maybe being a little bit more liberal with their underwriting, or a little looser in order to make deals work. We think that this can be problematic. So we have really stuck to our guns, which means, we're a bit more choosy in the eyes of most, but that's okay. We sleep well at night, and it's enabled us to find true mom and pop or off market projects where, they're not out to the general market with crazy valuations. They're truly sound investments. So yeah, we're continuing to evaluate in the Southeast. The demography story and the great migration, as they call it, that has happened over the past 2 to 3 years is just stunning. So we are continuing to follow where are people moving, especially from my state, which seems like everywhere. But there are definitely great net migration stories. Of course, where are jobs growing? You and I talked a little bit about possibly an impending recession and what type of industries tend to be recession resistant, what type of economies are more business friendly, governments that are business friendly that can help weather that type of storm. You and I talked about the 2008 crash. You and I both know there are certain states and cities within this country that said 2008 crash, what? Who? That type of economic downturn doesn't affect every city uniformly. So making sure that we understand where some cities may be that can weather that type of maybe national downturn, but not feel the effects as much locally is of paramount importance to us right now.
So you're looking for those types of cities and that did not suffer as much as they did back in 08.
Yes, using those as an example. Careful not to, incorporate recency bias, right? Just because a city weathered the storm in 2008 doesn't mean in 2022 or 2023 they will. But learning from those examples of why did they, and applying those learnings to what's going on in certain economies right now. So whether they're healthcare based economies or broadly based, multifactorial industry economies like the Houstons of the world that did so well last time because of government jobs, manufacturing, and then of course healthcare as well. So yes, making sure we're keeping an eye out on those criteria and seeing what other cities that may apply to during this time.
So it sounds to me like if you're targeting Southeast, Florida might be on your radar too then, right?
Yes, I love Florida, but the insurance risk is a tough pill to swallow. Many listening may know, insurance, they really rule the roost right now. I almost kind of wish I was in insurance because they're able to really charge, they're able to call the shots. And, if you're close to the water, insurance can double overnight. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but you understand what I'm saying. And we have certain, fixed costs such as mortgage, taxes, and insurance that we don't have a ton of influence on when we buy and operate properties. So mitigating those costs we can't really, play with all that much is important. So we're a little shy of Florida, unfortunately. But Tennessee, Northern Alabama, some parts of Georgia, definitely attractive.
Yeah. I know. I totally agree. I love Florida as well. But yeah, you're right. When it comes to insurance, I mean, sometimes I guess if you do some sort of umbrella type scenario, maybe, but the savings is not going to be like huge material savings that's going to blow your socks off, So, and you never want to go cheap on your insurance either. I've known people who've done it, and they try to save on their premium. But it's like when the fire does happen, and it will happen, it always happens. That's when you're like you think you're lucky stars that you had the right insurance. Because I mean, it's funny. Before I got into this business, I would have thought, how many fires can you possibly have? I've had like one a year now.
My gosh.
It's crazy. Every year. Oh yeah, I just had a fire last week actually. So yeah, it happens, and happens a lot. So you want to go cheap on your insurance? Absolutely not. But yeah, I think, but your strategy of Tennessee, you mentioned Georgia.
Yes, Northern Georgia, Northern Alabama. Yes.
Yeah. Great markets. It's just, I think finding the right asset, to your point, is somewhat difficult these days. That's the scenario because it sounds to me like you said you did not deviate from your criteria, which is great. You're not applying some sort of creative mental gymnastics trying to make the deal work, which is super, but trying to find the deal that still fits the same criteria as, say, 18 months ago is way more of a challenge, I would imagine.
Spot on. Yeah. Deal flow has gotten a little bit less, but that's just the way it is. If we're hunting deals that still are financially sound and underwrite extremely conservatively, and have defensible assumptions, that allows us to sleep well at night and be good stewards of, investment money for our investors. So it does take, more relationship building, longer time to uncover some of these deals. They are out there, but to your point, they're not free flowing, and we're not just running around picking them from the trees like we were a while ago.
Yeah. So when it gets to a point where those deals are going to be harder to find, do you guys think you might pivot to something else, or are you just going to wait it out? What do you see yourself doing?
Yes, we're definitely looking at development. We're not as far along as you are, but it is definitely something that piques our interest, and we think would be a valuable part of our investors' portfolio as well. Also looking at self-storage and some other real estate sectors and assets as well. So, we're not married to value add multifamily. This is a cyclical industry. We all understand that. And it's not always the best time to invest in kind of one single sector per se. So our eyes are wide open. We're always excited to continue to innovate and ultimately serve our investors in the best way we can.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to keep your eyes open to pivot, right? That's part of being an entrepreneur. It's when the opportunities are not as plentiful as they used to be. Sometimes it's time to maybe shift gears and look at something else, right? That can still give your investors a nice, healthy return and keep them happy, keep yourself happy, and look for the opportunities.
Spot on.
Right?
Very well said.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we're getting to that point in the show here. So for someone listening right now, they heard your story, they heard what we were just talking about here when it comes to the difficulty of building something, and you've done it, of course. What sort of bulletproof advice would you have for that individual?
Get a coach, get a mentor, and form a team. I cannot emphasize all of that enough. Your ability to go further faster at the risk of repeating myself over and over. It can be scary to have people tell you areas where you need to improve, or make yourself vulnerable by joining a team and letting them know maybe what you may not be so good at. But the complementary ways in which a team and a coach can really get you where you want to go I can't overstate that enough. And it's fun working with other people. There are some tremendous people in this industry that make the work a joy and can really, enhance your life and yours, theirs as well. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, absolutely true. Absolutely true. All right, guys. Well, if you want to reach out to Amy, you can reach her via her website at silviscapital.com. Hope you got some insight on how to overcome some really tough situations and really start building something they really want for your life and for your family. It's all out there if you really are willing to make the sacrifice and do the work. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next episode. Take care.
You've been listening to the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had fun. Make sure to visit our Apple Podcast page and leave us a 5-star review. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show. For real estate coaching, events, and resources, hit up bulletproofcashflow.com. Till next time.
No information in this episode should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Any investment opportunities mentioned on this show are limited to accredited or sophisticated investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure and subscription documentation and subject to all applicable laws. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice.